Alright, I am back with a Diablo 4 video. These end up being some of my more controversial videos because despite me putting thousands and thousands of hours into Diablo 2 and 3 especially, and definitely hundreds into Diablo 4, I am still supposedly an amateur casual Diablo player, according to a lot of people who stumble upon these videos who are not my regular viewers. Um, that said, I wanted to kind of show up and talk about my thoughts on the seasons of Diablo 3, Diablo 4 so far. And that is 3 full seasons now after the initial launch of the game. I really enjoyed the initial launch of the game. I thought it was by far the best storyline they've ever done. Had a lot of fun with it, enjoyed playing. And then I was going to give the seasonal model a shot. It was something I kind of barely touched on in Diablo 3, but I know it ended up being pretty popular. There's like 20 something, 30 seasons of content there. And Diablo 4 is trying to do the same thing. They are going to have more expansions, I believe. There's one coming later this year, but they are trying to do bigger seasons, more engaging seasons than we saw in Diablo 3. And the big controversy I started way back in the day was I was wondering why we couldn't use our eternal characters in seasonal content, and that got a bunch of seasonal veterans mad at me saying that was stupid. There was that Quinn guy who was like yelling about it, and then Asmongold like reacted to my video and like said like I wasn't like totally wrong. What happened to Asmongold? He's crazy now. Anyway, after 3 seasons, I'm still sort of mixed on this. Like, I understand more now about why using eternal characters doesn't make a ton of sense, you know, given kind of the arc of the season and how things work with like the new mechanics you use and things like that. However, I think the fundamental point of why I wanted, you know, eternal characters in the first place is that I still don't find it like particularly enjoyable to lose everything that you accomplished in the previous season, and then you know, at least in terms of characters that can move forward with seasonal content, and then starting over from scratch every time. It's just not something that I find terribly compelling. You know, ranking up the exact same skill tree and just sort of you got to keep up with the balance patches to know like what got nerfed, what's good now. So you'll do like a slightly different build, you know, with this character this time. And yes, you don't like fully lose your old character because you can port it over to the Eternal Realm, but like there's just no reason. Like they don't give you any reason really to play the Eternal Realm at all because there's so much content jammed into the seasonal model. To really get to like they've added a lot of endgame stuff, but like to get there you have to like really you know, no life the game, which I get some people want to do, but I don't have time to do that with all the other games and shows and stuff I have to cover. So I guess I'm sort of missing out on that aspect of it, but I also don't find it like really compelling that like I'm grinding so hard from all this stuff that is going to essentially just cease to exist after you know, 3 months or however long the season ends up being. It's hard for me to imagine like trying to play other games this way. Like I've, you know, how many live games have I played in the past? And like each season, you're still building on your current characters. Like, you know, obviously Destiny, blah, blah, blah. But it's like if you were grinding so hard for an exotic or something, and then the next season, you either can't use that exotic anymore, like the mechanic doesn't exist, or you have to regrind the whole thing again. Like it again, I know these games are different, but to me, it sort of feels like that, where it's this loss of progress, where even if the build-up can still be fun, just once you kind of get to the end, things sort of peter out. You're like, well, how much further do I really want to go? Like, I did the storyline, I got a decent enough build. Like, am I going to just grind this so hard that, you know, I'm getting these uber uniques or whatever, and then it's just, by the time I get there, it's kind of over in a couple of weeks. That, to me, is still not the most compelling pursuit. I get that it works for some people, but it's caused me to kind of go up and down with my engagement in seasons. I played season 2 the most. I actually fully got my character to 100 then. this time around, like I don't even know what level. I think I'm at like 80 something. I didn't finish the battle pass, which is very annoying to me because I paid for it. But I guess that's usually how battle passes work. You really got to grind them out. But this time I wasn't really compelled to do so. Granted, there were a lot of competing games, but once I got up that high, I'm just like, I don't know. It's like it's fine. Just sort of moving on. The other thing, it's kind of what you're grinding for, where it's these things that affect your build, which is great. But I've said this before that I think games that want you to pursue some level of cosmetics, that's an interesting chase to me. Whereas Diablo IV is one of the worst games for cosmetic chases of any kind I've ever seen. They had this big thing at launch where they were like, don't worry, guys, like the sets you can earn in game are going to be equivalent to the sets we're selling in the shop. That was true at launch. I'd say there were close to an equal amount of sets in the game and sets in the store. There were some pretty good sets in the game, but now that's totally gone out the window. Absolutely gone out the window. At best, you have the sets that you quote unquote earn through the battle pass. One set is always terrible. The free set is abominably terrible every single time. And then the paid set is usually pretty good, but like, and it's good because it applies to all classes, but there are then dozens and dozens of very awesome, like the armor that they make for the paid sets is amazing. Like they've done such a good job with it. And I would play the game so much more if I could earn these in game somehow. I would go to the end game. I would grind all that stuff because guess what does carry over between seasons that you're not losing? Cosmetics, transmog stuff. Like that is something that retains, but you're only able to get it through paying, which sucks. It is a pursuit that would be really excellent, and it's not there. Like they've added, maybe one piece of something. There was like a crown or something you could earn from, grinding a boss enough last time, or there's like horses and horse trophies, but like you can't earn any of these awesome armor sets. It's impossible. So that to me remains a very frustrating aspect of the game where like, great, Uber Uniques or whatever, your build gets really powerful, but like your build gets powerful every season. Like you're not, they are adding, some new affixes and items and things every season, but like it's not the same, and it's not something that you can permanently carry over. Like, oh, I'm going to run a barbarian again, but I didn't grind out any sets that, I can do a cool look for this time around. Like none of those carry over if I didn't pay for something. So that to me sucks. And like, I get that maybe is not a big of a deal for a lot of Diablo players, and they're just used to grinding out power and they don't really care about cosmetics. And, your little sprite is so far away most of the time, it doesn't matter. Although this game kind of shows your character, the loading screens and the main screen, like they show your character a good amount. So I still think cosmetics are valuable there, but it's something the game refuses to invest in, and it has one of the worst. It has some of the best cosmetics for the worst designed, greediest system I've ever seen. So, like, I still have definitely had fun in various parts of the seasons. I've been compelled enough to at least play all the seasons. That's something by itself. And of course, we're not talking about season 4 yet, because season 4 is arriving with really, 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 really big changes. It's essentially the kind of changes you'd expect from the launch of an expansion. It is a total rework of the loot system. They're changing lots of stuff with Helltide. There's new endgame content and bosses. Like, it is a ton of stuff. So perhaps my view will change this season because there's just so much new stuff. Although, you still run into the same problems at the end. And also, this isn't going to be every season. This is a sort of like, oh, we got to pull this fire alarm because people are complaining too much about itemization, and we're fixing a bunch of stuff. It sounds great. It sounds a lot better. But yeah, so this season may be an exception, and it may be a lot better, which is why I'm definitely going to play it. I'm like counting down the time to reset because I'm actually very excited to play it. I've done all 5 classes now. I was doing 1 class a season, and now I've circled back around to Barbarian, which was my first Eternal Realm class. I did Barbarian and Rogue for my Eternal Realm characters, but like I haven't touched my Eternal Barbarian since the season launch because there's no reason to. So yeah, those are my kind of updated thoughts on the seasons. They've hooked me enough to keep playing. They have not hooked me enough to like grind incessantly the way I used to grind Diablo games. So let me know your thoughts. If all the Diablo diehards, want to come in here and yell at me, you're welcome to. If Quinn wants to make another video, go for it. Like, I'm not as high on the like Eternal Realm characters must be able to be played in seasons thing, but like I think what I was trying to represent by that about permanent progress, about things that don't kind of go away, that point still stands, even if I sort of get the whole like level up a new character idea. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.